October 18th, 6 p.m. With around 250 Occupy Sacramento participants present for the meeting, 40 citizen speakers shared their perspective with the Sacramento City Council. In the spirit of our new experiments in direct democracy, here are highlights from every single occupier who gave testimony on the 18th.
One of the things we do here in Sacramento with Sacramento Police Department is as soon as we find out that we're going to have a protest or demonstration, is work with those who are organizers or leaders of those groups to identify what their issues or concerns are and help facilitate whatever protests they might have. I won't go into a lot of detail about the Occupy movement. It's in the media and has been in the media since September when it started in New York. But what I do want to emphasize is Sacramento is very unique. We're not like any of the other cities, not only in the regulations and laws that we have, but also how we enforce those laws. As it relates to Sacramento in particular, we first learned that Occupy Sacramento would start around October 6th. At that time, we started meeting with folks who identified themselves as protesters, and we started discussing some of the options, some of the locations, and what permits were required for being in parks. On the 6th, we had about 250 people come down to Sacramento and start the protests, including marches. They went to different businesses and to the federal courthouse. That group that day kind of used Chavez Plaza as the rally point. While we were working with the group and the demonstration, the issues, and facilitating their safe movement around the city, there was a legal effort to block any enforcement of regulations, in particular the camping ordinance. That was defended by the city attorney's office, and that motion basically was denied. So between October 6th and today, we've averaged on a daily basis between 40 and 350 protesters. We facilitated marches and rallies throughout the core downtown area. Chavez Plaza continues to be the rally point, as everyone knows. One of the things that's important to recognize is Chavez Plaza is posted to be closed between dusk and dawn. We've basically used the city code and allowed those in the park during midweek to remain until 11 p.m. and on weekends remain until midnight. That'd be Friday and Saturday nights defined as weekends. We've let every evening the protesters know that the park is closed, what hours are going to be closed, and then given dispersal orders each night notifying them that the park is closed. Anyone remaining in the park would be arrested. The majority of folks who are in the park at those times leave the park and continue their protests on the sidewalks. And to date, we've arrested 57. We've made 57 arrests. Of that, 13 individuals have been arrested more than once. Some of the legal considerations on that.
Yes, thank you, Chief and Mayor and council members. One issue that has been raised repeatedly regarding the actions that have been taken over at Cesar Chavez Plaza is that it's been alleged that the city has been infringing upon the freedoms of speech and assembly by the individuals who are over there exercising those rights. And while those rights are protected greatly by the law and I think honored by this city through its police department and its conduct, that it's not an unfettered right. And there is long-standing jurisprudence that does permit government, and in this case the city, to adopt ordinances that may tend to infringe upon the rights of to assemble and speech incidentally. And there is long-standing jurisprudence that does permit government, and in this case the city, to adopt ordinances that may tend to infringe upon the rights of to assemble and speech incidentally associated with the city's exercise of its police power. And so the city is entitled under the law to adopt reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions upon the use of its parks and other public facilities. And so chapters 12.72, which is the park ordinance that sets the 11 p.m. deadline, is one such reasonable time, place, and manner restriction that the city imposes upon the use of the park. And the illegal camping ordinance under Chapter 12.52 is another such ordinance. And we believe that both of those ordinances are lawful. They were adopted by this council pursuant to vigorous vetting and much discussion to make certain that they were lawful. And the judge on the 6th of October in the hearing on this matter agreed that no temporary restraining order should be issued to prevent the city from exercising its rights to, use those time, place, and manner restrictions for the protection of the general public.
Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Matt Joy. I'm in District 3, and I'm here to speak in support of an exception to the camping ordinance on First Amendment grounds. I think it makes this a unique case. I don't think there's a risk of spillover. I don't think there's a risk of other groups coming forward and needing to get exceptions. But this is a case of people demonstrating their First Amendment right to assemble and peaceably discuss the issues that face them and address grievances that they have with their government, with the way that they are being economically limited and marginalized in this system. I watched the council meeting from last week, and I watched Councilmember Fong talk about, when you were talking about the water infrastructure, how it was really sad that there weren't a big group of people like this here to talk about and participate in that discussion. Those people are located now right across the street. They are interested in becoming part of this political process. In fact, they are interested in shaping the political process. And that's, I think, the exact kind of thing that needs to be engaged, as Councilmember Ashby said. This is about political engagement. These are people who are standing up because they're very interested in seeing things change, and specifically seeing things change when large banks get trillions of dollars and we're not sure if we have enough money for a bridge or water improvements that are going to be critical not only for our generation but for generations down the line. That's a problem, and that's a problem that has to be addressed. These people are demonstrating because they want and believe that we can do better as a society, that we are in a technological age now where we can engage in direct democracy, and that those rights of assembly and freedom of speech should not be abridged, especially when now is such a critical time and there is so much to be discussed.
The people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Originally, the First Amendment applied only to the laws enacted in Congress. However, starting with Gitlow versus New York, if you want to take that down, in 1925, the Supreme Court held that, that this also applies to the First Amendment to each state, including local government. Adderley versus Florida, 1966, was a case in the Supreme Court of the United States over whether arrests from protesting in front of a jail were constitutional. Justice Douglas authored that public officials should not, according to the vision of the First Amendment, be given discretion to decide where public places can be used for the expression of ideas. In Hague versus CIO in 1939, this was another Supreme Court case over whether an ordinance requiring a permit for public assembly or in upon the public streets, highways, public parks, or public buildings of the city is void on its face. Justice Roberts stated, "Whenever the title of streets and parks may rest, they have immemorially been held in trust for the use of the public, and time out of mind have been used for purposes of assembly, communicating through thoughts between citizens and discussing public questions." I personally am being discriminated by the park being closed. My husband works till 11 p.m. at night. We spend our evening hours and our early morning hours together, which we cannot do at the park because they are not there during those times because of your ordinance, which is unconstitutional, and it also has been overridden in 2009 in Texas. And I'd be happy to send that case code to the city attorney if they'd like.
Thanks, Jenny.
Ralph?
Thank you, folks, for allowing me to speak. I'm not eloquent or anything, so I'll just get right to it. You know, all of you were elected by us, and we have rights, and you made promises. Okay, you promised to uphold the Constitution, and you're not doing it. You're violating our rights to peaceful assembly. You have police that are closing parks that belong to us. You know, we have this right that you guys are actually, you know, I guess I'm repeating myself. You're violating it. You know, what are you afraid of? If you're that afraid of change, then keep your promises to us. Promise to uphold the law. Promise to uphold the Constitution. Keep your promises or we'll elect you out. We elected you in. You know, the word recall, if it means anything to you, please think about it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph.
When we came together, we had a lot of different issues that we all kind of agreed on or disagreed on, but we all felt there were still serious issues in this country. And the time that we spent together over the last couple of weeks, we've come up with a lot of ideas for solutions and potential that worked within the means of the law that we could do to help a lot of people and solve these issues. And you are the people here who have the power to help us do that, and that's why we're trying to work with you here. Homelessness, joblessness, underemployment, that's a huge one. We've been helping families, working with families, hearing about families' problems. Also, same with students, teachers, police, and other union workers. All these problems, we're really working hard and diligently to come up with solutions. We've been spending all day, every day, maybe hundreds of us every day, trying to come up with new ideas and to talk to the people of the community and hear what they have to say. We have general assemblies that we do several times a day where we let everybody speak, and we let everybody raise their hand to a vote to decide what solutions we're going to try to take or in which ways we're going to move forward. I have dozens of people come up to me personally every day and they tell me, you guys are doing a really great job. We really appreciate what you're doing. This is really big for the people. And with that, I mean, I don't see why we should be held back. Why should we should be restricted by 6 hours a night? It takes us almost 3 hours every morning to set up everything that we have to get our tents up, not tents for camping, tents for holding our supplies, tents for one large tent where we set up our internet database. It's called a media tent. It takes us several hours in the night to tear everything down and be sure that we're out by 11 o'clock before the police come and kick us out, arrest us, and take all our supplies away. With that, I mean, all I have to finish up is whatever the real problem is you guys have with us being there between 11 and 5 every day. If it's finances, I've personally worked with a few people in our group to crunch the numbers, and it's really not financially bad. It's financially helpful to the community for us to be there, even for us to be there overnight.
Sean, we need your final thought, please.
I'm sorry?
We need your final thought, please.
Yeah, the final thought. That would be, as much good as we've done, I would have expected most of you to be out there to talk with us, or at least the media attention we've had, for you guys to come out, and not so much for you, Mayor, to speak out against us. I'm embarrassed for you in that matter.
Thus, as it applies to this assembly, your ordinance is an unconstitutional nullity. We are not here to request that you allow us to exercise our constitutional rights. We are here to inform you of what your constituents require of you. We demand that we stop being arrested for exercising our constitutionally recognized freedoms. We demand that the members of this city council operate in the representative capacity it was intended to, rather than the administrative capacity in which it currently operates. You have a fiduciary duty to these people, your only legitimate constituency. You have failed to faithfully discharge your duties. Attempting to categorize this peaceable assembly as anything but for the purposes of circumventing legitimate political process and adjudicating against them is at best disingenuous, at worst treasonous. William Pitt once said, "Necessity is the plea for every infringement on human liberty. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves." I am positive the creed of this great country is not slavery. Therefore, members of the City Council, what is your argument? That it is necessary to infringe on this assembly's constitutionally protected human liberties to enforce an unlawfully applied statute? If so, that is not only tyranny, but also treason.
David,
Councilwoman, yes, I'm wrapping it up. Councilwoman Aspey, you told me you're a patriot, a sentiment that I'm sure that your colleagues on the City Council also share. I challenge this council to prove to the American people that they are patriots rather than corporate bureaucrat marionettes. These people are patriots. These people are patriots. This is how the political process works.
Mr. Mayor, City Councilman, City Attorney, I'm quite flustered over your belief in the city's right. I have to stop right there. The city has no rights. In fact, what I'm looking at is a fascist corporation masquerading as my government. You people gave up your right when you decided to incorporate it. You hide behind, what do you call that stuff? Oh, indemnity clauses, where you're not responsible for what you do. Well, I kind of think you are responsible. Mr. Cohen, last week you asked, where was this all going? Well, I'm about to tell you. See, I'm a free man. Your ordinances and your statutes and your codes, they don't apply to me. Not at all. Okay? Those are meant and made by corporations for corporations, and I don't work for you. Mr. Shirey, your first impression was, your initial response was to ban people for life from the park, if I can believe what the media had to say. Why would you want to assault the citizens of this city like that? And personally, you insult my intelligence. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I would think for such an action that you're fired. Mr. Johnson, I applaud you. You were the only one who didn't want Mr. Shirey to be the city manager, and I thought it was your position to actually appoint one. Madam Ashby, you too, I guess, didn't want Mr. Shirey to be the city manager. Well, I don't want Mr. Shirey to be the city manager. I don't want his policies or his thoughts to be anywhere near the city or its people. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrick. A lot of people would attribute that to lack of resources or overpopulation, but in fact, the UN recently released a report that says that global food production is 17% above what's necessary to feed every single human being on the planet. And these are indeed the reasons why we're here, ultimately, and why this is a movement that's spreading across the entire globe. So as you can see, our problems are in scope much more broad than just a camping ordinance. So with all due respect, if you don't have a solution to all of these problems that you can implement relatively quickly, please grant us the right, our First Amendment right, to assemble and carry out the people's duty, which is to check the established institutions if we feel that we are not being properly represented. What is it? Almost 2 minutes. By the time I walk away, about 28 people have died from poverty and preventable diseases.
Thanks, Arda.
I'm here to speak on the positive effects that Occupy Sacramento has already had on Sacramento in our less than 2 weeks of existence in the park across the street from here. I've seen homeless people show up and come to learn American history. I've seen homeless people come up and ask to learn new skills to come out and something that they can go and get a job with. I've seen a homeless man whose birthday was today come up from being in a hopeless situation to running our entire donation collection system and our entire food system with just sheer effort and desire to be useful. We've had Sac State professors offer to come and do teach-ins on things such as critical thinking, civics, civic responsibility, ethics, the things that we need to have an educated citizenship. We are woefully uneducated in both this community and throughout the United States on our civic duties, on basic economics, on how to balance our checkbooks, on how to calculate compound interest rates. The people need this education, and we really need the time to get established down here and to really set up these classes for everyone who works at any hour, including the people who work swing shift, who only can barely get here at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. We have people who are volunteering to teach these classes, and we would like the right to teach those classes to the people who want to. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. You know, you have to be part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So what's the problem? Have people been marching down the street, stopping traffic? Have people been sitting in buildings, stopping people from using public buildings? Have people walked into the Wells Fargo Tower and sat in the bank, stopped the bank from operating? None of those things have happened. None of those things. Those are usually the things that happen when people are protesting, when mass arrests are being made. What's happening? People are sitting in a park That's what they're doing. They're sitting in a park discussing public issues. What they're doing is the solution.
All right, so that was 20 minutes that we went through and heard from 10-plus speakers. What I'm going to do really quickly is if you are supporting Occupy Sacramento, can you all just stand so we can see who everybody is here? That would be everybody in the council chambers. All right, as well as a number of people outside. Okay, have a seat. Thank you very much. So we're going to, again, try to get through as many speakers as we can, but know that everybody in here got a chance to at least let yourselves be known and seen here today. So the next set of speakers we're going to try to get through in a minute's time so we can hear from as many of you as possible.
Good evening, City Council, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak on the Occupy Sacramento movement. Let me move through this quickly. I want to state my personal views on not just occupiers, but for everybody, men, women, children, race, creed, sex, religion. The history of liberty is a history of resistance. The history of liberty is a history of limitations of governmental power, not to increase it. I am free no matter what rules surround me. If I find them tolerable, I tolerate them. If I find them obnoxious, I resist them. I am free because I know that I alone am morally responsible for everything that I do. And I prefer liberty with danger than peace with slavery. History has shown a patriot must always be ready to defend his country against his government, because we now live in a world in which politics has replaced philosophy. To answer my friend's question about fear in getting arrested, and I have an answer. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear.
We're in the fierce urgency of now. Yes, sir. We have love on the front line, and love on the front line is a dangerous way to live, because in the end, no one wins. If we look around the nation today and around the world, there's something going on. The people have been hoodwinked, they have been led astray. And here we are today, from Liberty Square in New York City, has sent a message out here to the state of California to tell us this is our land and this is your land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Statue of Liberty, which was formed in 1849, and the city of Sacramento that was founded in 1849. We stand here today to hold these truths to be self-evident, that justice must take place from here, must take place from Cesar Chavez Park. Cesar Chavez was a civil rights leader. He was a mover. It's a shame that we can take this park out here and discredit his name. Right now, Cesar Chavez is turning over in his grave, but not just Cesar Chavez. So is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. See, that's what inspired me to be here for the 13 days.
Thank you for letting a foreigner speak tonight. Yes, I'm not from here. I'm from Vacaville. I'm Cindy Sheehan, and my son Casey was in the Army and killed in Iraq on April 4th, 2004. We were told he was defending our freedoms. He was killed on April 4th, and that's the same day as Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. I've been invited to attend Occupy movements all over the country, but I chose Sacramento because it's closest to me, and I think the solutions have to be local. And I want to assure you, give you my word for what it's worth, that Occupy Sacramento is neighborhood friendly. And I invite you all to come over. It's just like right over there. I had to drive all the way from Vacaville. I'm sure you could walk right over there. I got arrested on Saturday night in Cesar Chavez Park. It was during a peaceful protest. The Sacramento PD called it a riot. It was the most boring and peaceful riot I have ever seen. And I'm here tonight, and I came all the way from Vacaville because I don't believe the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution stops at the borders of Sacramento. This movement is growing, and it's not going to go away, no matter how much it's oppressed. So you might as well start supporting it. Yes. As a person who's been involved in many occupations around the world, most famously in Crawford, Texas, and we were allowed to stay, I urge you to allow the Occupy Sacramento movement to set up a permanent camp in Cesar Chavez Park. Obviously, the people there are respectful, they're clearly smart, they're clean, they clean up the park, they clean up the bathrooms, and they're, most of all, they're dedicated to making this world a better place, not just for them, but for you and for your children and for your grandchildren if you have them, and for mine. I am so honored to just be part of this movement. And I'm glad when I came and chose Occupy Sacramento. And we're not going away. Thank you.
I have been volunteering security for Occupy Sacramento, and we are willing to negotiate with the police if you just give us one night to occupy the park with security volunteers. And if there's any corruption or chaos, we will not occupy the park 24/7. Please let us occupy the park. Please reconsider. I called 7 of 8 of you and left you messages with your secretaries. Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm here to talk about how the Council might meet the City's needs for keeping the peace and ensuring public safety and financial sustainability, while also meeting the citizens' needs for strong and sustained peaceful assembly and petition of our government for redress of our grievances. I do believe a win-win solution is possible. In our effort to meet our need, we have planned to either assemble at night or get arrested at night. Given this worldwide, movement-wide plan, we believe both our needs and the City's needs would be best met if the City allows our peaceful nighttime assembly in Cesar Chavez Park, conditioned upon the maintenance of the kind of commitment to peace, sanitation, security, and cooperation with the police that Occupy Sacramento has thus far demonstrated. With these conditions and Occupy Sacramento's track record, we believe the risk of high levels of policing being required to monitor our nighttime assembly is extremely low, and that allowing that assembly would be significantly less expensive than the arrest and legal costs that would only increase otherwise. In addition, with the conditional permission I described, we believe the risk of this decision setting an expensive precedent is negligible for the following reasons. This is an unprecedented movement of unprecedented urgency, scope, and size. Most movements are not so strong that their members would be willing to remain outdoors in the elements 24/7. And for those movements that might be that strong going forward, they would also likely be determined enough to protest via getting arrested, in which case the same calculations I described would make the same decision we're proposing the least expensive way for the City to keep the peace and maintain public safety.
Good evening. There is no way for the vast majority of people to petition our government for redress of grievances other than what we are doing across this country and now the world. We have phoned, emailed, faxed, and mailed letters. We have lobbied our representatives in the White House, and all of our concerns end up in the same landfill of contempt. Rich people are taxed less than poor people. Wars rage on as 65% of discretionary spending goes to the war machine, and social safety net programs for the average American are being shredded as they lose their workplace rights. And there is an intolerable high number of children living in poverty as we continue to see our society victimized by corporate forces who put profits before people. I think you guys have all seen that. We are here in person exercising our First Amendment rights and protesting our government in a manner we've come to believe is the only way that will make a difference. As chair of the Progressive Caucus of this state's Democratic Party, I would never tell any of my brothers and sisters protesters that they should turn away from the political process or getting involved politically, but we must face things honestly. The hour is way too late for such false talk that simply voting for a candidate or a ballot measure is going to fix things. Conventional electoral and political processes have been weighed in good conscience by our earnest participation, measured against what we as a people know to be just and found terribly, terribly wanting. We will no longer accept what is. We are practicing a new kind of politics, one that is about the imperative of taking back our democracy.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Hillary Brumley, and I am part of this 99% movement. My family pays more than a quarter of our income in taxes, and we have no problem paying our share. Our problem lies with how our tax money is being spent. Our problem lies in the privatization of our government via campaign contributions and lobbying by the wealthiest 1% of our nation. Policy cannot be made fairly for all people under this system. Our government was designed to be by, of, and for the people. Not Wall Street, not the Fortune 500, not the richest 1% of all of the people. All of the people. And we the people have had enough, so we're dissenting. We have the absolute right to do this, to assemble and speak. It is the essence of the First Amendment. Under our Constitution, political expression in a public forum is absolutely protected, not any time except between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. This is a people's movement. Keep us out of the courts and on the streets, in the plaza, where the protest belongs. Stop spending our tax money to arrest, house, and prosecute peaceful protesters.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are respectfully requesting that this city pay attention to its citizens and allow us to occupy Cesar Chavez Park so that we can effectively organize. Please do not be afraid of change. It is the only constant and what is necessary for the masses to survive with any quality of life. This is an issue I truly believe in, so I will be at Cesar Chavez Park tonight in solidarity with my brothers and sisters. Please do not have us arrested. I really do not want to go to jail. It's not the best place to spend the night. I do not believe the city should waste any more resources on arresting those who want to make a difference in the world they live in. Imagine if you got arrested for making a difference in your own life. How unrighteous is that? Have a nice night. Please consider your decision carefully. Then make the right choice for the plea for your suit. I love you. Peace.
My name is Matt Wolliver. I am a student with loans working towards a degree in electrical engineering. I am the son of an honest blue-collar worker, but first and foremost, I am the oldest of 4 brothers, one of whom is a soldier in Afghanistan. I have been homeless as a sacrifice to further my education after loans have ran out. My job at Occupy Sacramento is to get in touch with people with respectful minds so that they can teach for free what I have suffered to gain. A hero has risen within me, and I will not take a microstep in the opposite direction of human progress in the name of fear or blood money.
We are here today to consummate our First Amendment right to address our government with grievances. Grievances that are legitimate and therefore endow us, the 99%, to demand justice and resolution. We are here today because secrets can no longer be kept from us. It is no longer a secret that the top 400 Americans control more wealth than the bottom 180 million Americans. It is no longer a secret that many of our elected representatives have been corrupted by this financial, monetary injustice. We are here protesting against a system that supports corporate elitists while American citizens lose their homes and jobs. A system that perpetuates convenience at the expense of our environment. A system that perpetuates costly, archaic, barbaric acts of war on the backs of American taxpayers and courageous soldiers who risk their lives every day. We are here today because we are concerned about the future of our nation and our species. Council members, I have no doubt in my mind that you share these same concerns. So why not join us? Why not support us? Occupy Sacramento is the first committee to address a political body, a feat that symbolizes our strength as a community. Sacramento, the capital of California, has the potential to leave the West Coast and co-creating a sustainable society. Council, I leave you with a simple question. If you do not represent us, American citizens, who do you represent?
As a participant in and observer of the events of the last 13 days, I have to say that 2 aspects of those events have struck me as being almost without precedent. One is the phenomenal growth of Sacramento's 99% movement in just 2 weeks' time, from the first Saturday when 150 of us gathered together in Fremont Park to the third Saturday when an estimated 600-plus people gathered together in Cesar Chavez Park to exercise their First Amendment rights to peaceably assemble and engage in free speech. But the other is this city government's asymmetrical strategy in dealing with this 99% movement. On 3 nights in particular, October 6th, October 8th, and October 15th, the nonviolent civil disobedience of a handful of peaceful demonstrators has been met by what can only be described as an overwhelming force of 70 to 80 police officers, most in riot gear and armed with billy clubs. Last Saturday night alone, I counted some 36 squad cars, 2 police vans, and 2 paddy wagons. All of this in the face of a tiny group of peaceful citizens who, I promise you, would have allowed themselves to be captured and detained by a single spool of thread. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, you're hunting quail with hand grenades. Now, either this is someone's idea of a measured response to a perceived threat, or it's nothing but political theater. If it's the former, it is seriously misguided and should be seen for the profligate waste of taxpayer dollars that it is. If it is the latter, however, I say by all means let the show go on. Numerous national polls have shown that among those folks who are aware of the 99% movement, the overwhelming majority approve of what we are doing, and with more Americans becoming aware of it with each passing day, I can only conclude that time is on our side. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I would like to start by saying, although we may seem like a small movement, I believe it's important to remember that this occupation is global. As of today, there are 1,554 occupations worldwide. Our constitutional First Amendment rights give us freedom of assembly, speech, and press. It saddens me that we must be here today to address what should be a birthright in this country. Additionally, there are no time restrictions on free speech or assembly. Our city seems to believe that time restriction on free speech and assembly should be permitted. I'm sure the most relevant question on the table is, why must you occupy through the night? We, like the homeless individuals in this city, have been hidden away. We have been distracted by consumption and entertainment. We need to occupy this park day and night so that this country and its officials continue to rethink about these issues day and night until they are resolved. We must be able to easily assemble to discuss these issues without interruption. The Constitution itself, for example, wasn't drafted only during business hours. This country's problems do not disappear at curfew, and the people in this occupation should serve as a constant reminder to the city, state, country, and the world.
I'm kind of hungry. I know you guys are probably hungry too. You guys want to get home, so I'll keep it short. Come on, guys, just help us out. I mean, Kevin, we're not asking a lot. Everybody in this whole place wants this to happen. Just, you guys can do it. Just make it happen, man. It's not a big deal. We got people up here that are upset. We got people out there upset. We don't need to be upset. We just need to go eat some bagels, enjoy some bridges, and just get this done. Please just help us out, Kevin. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
I really care about this city, the people here. I care about, not just about people here, everyone all over the world. I'm concerned if we don't do something, it's going to affect the entire world. We have this opportunity to do something, to not just forget about what's wrong with our government, what's wrong with this nation, the things that have gone wrong in the past years that we have just been apathetic to. And I'm sick of putting it aside for entertainment, for whatever distractions. I'm done with it. I'm here speaking to you, and I'm glad that you guys are listening. I understand it's difficult to get all this criticism all at once, but you know it's got to come out somewhere. So, and I appreciate your time, and I am very grateful to have the amazing cast of people here in Sacramento that have just inspired me to finally come out and tell you guys we need to change things now. We need your help in making this a better place for our children to live.
I'm here to explain that a great awakening is happening, and millions of people are finally proclaiming this is not who they are. These people of hope are crying out to the hearts of others to reach inside themselves and evolve. These people have done the very difficult spiritual work to transcend their own conditionings and look inside themselves to ask what will truly fulfill them. And they found the only thing that can truly satisfy us and alleviate the disease of desire and endless consumption is love. And not just love for ourselves and our families. This love is for life itself, for the life of our planet, our species, and all other systems on Earth. When you achieve this enlightenment and you fall deeply in love with humanity and life, you're able to see clearly the endless inefficiencies of our system, and therefore you become intrinsically motivated to change it, as I am. Change yourself and you truly change the world. Blessings and love to you, my brothers and sisters. Fear not for your ventures, for you will succeed if you look within and reprioritize. The movement you see before you is a historical revolution of consciousness, and you have the opportunity to be an integral part in that evolution of your species. You have the opportunity to prove you are dedicated to your citizens and to the Constitution of the United States of America. You have the opportunity to recognize that if you hinder the progress of this occupation by preventing us to peaceably assemble, to challenge our government, you truly enslave yourself and forfeit your own rights. And let us not even imagine what would come of our nation if our Constitution no longer holds value. What then will govern the people? Brute force? What message are we sending about the value of the revolutionary men and women that came before us?
I hope you will listen to everything that has been said, and I think I join with Sean in inviting you to come down to Cesar Chavez Park or come over there and listen to what these young people and people of different ages and different classes and incomes are saying. God knows they have already accomplished the Herculean task of making the most important issue visible, which is this enormous inequality of wealth and power that is destroying our democracy and the lives of so many people. Everybody does better when everybody does better. And these people are out there meeting, connecting, discussing, organizing, learning, trusting, sharing, showing a new way. Why don't you cross over the street, come down and talk to them, invite other offices of the city to come down and talk to them too. There's a lot of wisdom there that didn't get any degrees in college and can't afford them right now, but you can share in it just by crossing the street.
These people here have spoken too. You went with them. You can't have it both ways, baby. This ain't the last shot in the NBA. This ain't the last shot in the NBA. You can't have it both ways.
Final thoughts, sir.
Let these people stay in the park overnight. They really don't need a police department with a gun. They tell you we're peaceful. That's all you got to do. Allow them to change. That waiver is in that clause because nobody tested that argument against constitutionality.
You already know the rights that we the people have, or at least you should, since you were elected to uphold the law and serve the people of the city. That is why I ask you as a citizen of the city of Sacramento and as someone who has witnessed firsthand these rights being stripped from other valuable citizens of the city to lift this silly camping ordinance placed on our public park. We simply wish to stand in solidarity with Occupy Wall Street and 1,554 other cities in this country and around the world who are making great strides in raising awareness to our highest level of government's corruption and peacefully demonstrating against the atrocities committed against these people. When I see 36 police cars, 2 paddy wagons, and 2 CSI SUVs pull up to block off 2 streets and shut down a peaceful assembly, my heart sinks, and my suspicions that things are not what they seem behind the curtain are reaffirmed. This movement calls for a great organization and logistics team to effectively educate and inform the people what is truly happening in this country. And having to leave and come back, break down and set up and essentially start from scratch the next day is hindering our rights to be able to connect and share with our community and to make it easy to assemble and speak together democratically about the changes we would like to see within our government. The city should be respecting our rights, not taking them away, and not wasting the time of our police who force us to leave the public park in a time when we need to utilize the space to better our country. Like we chanted to the police as they surrounded us in the park, this is not a riot, it's a right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's another late night here. This is a more exciting evening, I would say, than the last time I was here. Last time I saw oppression that was committed by this council, and this time I'm seeing oppression committed by this council. These are people that, we are a people that are seeking answers to these questions. Why have we been oppressed for so long? This morning I had a very engaging conversation with some other disability groups that are around the country trying to figure out how to get in on this. I was arrested alongside Cindy on Saturday, and I saw the strength in these people, and I was moved to Occupy as well. And I will be out there again this evening. So if you choose to arrest me again, I will go. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell.
Scott? When I was young, my mother taught me to speak truth to power. She also taught me that in the position of power, it's very important that you listen to the truth. The truth has been spoken really clearly here, but there's some more truths involved. Okay? There's a whole bunch. 66% on a KCRA poll is in favor of this. 87% on a Reuters poll is in favor of this. And when it comes right down to it, if that many people are in favor of this and you guys are not in favor of this, then there's going to be a former assembly or council person and a former mayor on your names and a former city manager on your names. There is no doubt about this. Just be very clear in this very honest and total true discourse. The people are behind this. We will not stop. Never. It will continue. It will grow. It will get bigger, and it will never, ever stop.
There is every reason to believe that the occupation of the 99% will continue to snowball in size. I am so proud to be a Sacramentan because I see such a beautiful outpouring of community spirit, cooperation, and constructive solutions which enable direct democracy. Thanks, facilitators. You rock. Thanks, campers. You are tough and peaceful and patient. Thanks, media team. You keep us informed and talking to each other. Thanks, teachers. You open our minds to new ideas and affirm our shared truths. Thanks to those who feed us and those who set up the kitchen and booths and clean up. And finally, thanks, citizens of Cesar Chavez Park. You selflessly give your time and energy and love. I'm honored to know you. Thank you.
Thanks, Timothy.
And I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't dream to be a city council member my entire life. I wanted to be a baseball player, a firefighter. And now I have all these people behind me who want their dreams to be met, who want their voices to be heard. But that shouldn't stop between 5 and 11 or 11 to 5. That's just ridiculous. My voice is a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days a year thing. It doesn't stop for 6 hours. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
I am in favor of allowing Occupy Sacramento to peacefully occupy Chavez Park to do the critical work of educating our community. I could actually consider myself to be an educated woman, but it only took 6 months of what I call the swirling vortex of terror that occurred in my life in 2010 to turn my entire financial world upside down. What Occupy Sacramento reminds me of are these words: we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. In my opinion, corporate America no longer considers good, hardworking Americans to be people. We've been reduced to FICO scores and risk factors in financial models that are done in back rooms. But what I'm finally seeing is that Americans are fed up and are protesting against the right organizations, those major financial institutions, mortgage lenders, and the major corporations that seem to have so much control over our lives. I do understand why the city of Sacramento imposed the ordinances that it did against camping. I heard about those. I understand why those were put in place. I do not believe that the city council then, nor the city council now, is acting to restrict the free speech rights, even though many people may disagree with me. But I do believe that all that Occupy Sacramento wants is a safe place to do the critical work of educating our community, and some of that education that I didn't even have in going through my financial issues.
Mayor, City Council members, Dolores Huerta, Fred Ross Jr., and Cesar Chavez all have one thing in common. They were not afraid to stand up and get arrested. I got arrested on Saturday. I've never been arrested in my life. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I think it's ridiculous that I am not allowed to, let's see, is it camp in a park? I was not camping. I was sitting down with 16 other people along with Cindy Sheehan. I don't get it. I really don't. You know, if it's about the homeless, I think it's safer to camp in a park than on a sidewalk. Is it about saving money? I think sending, you know, paddy wagons, riot gear with pellet guns and batons, you know, that's pretty scary. But we're not gonna leave.
Good evening. I have a quick question. Are you all going to vote on this after we're done talking tonight, right now in front of us? That was a not rhetorical question.
Yeah, finish your comments and I'll address it.
So you will vote after we're all done speaking?
I'm saying finish your comments, then I'll address it at the end.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Well, tonight we've seen a really good example of all of Sacramento here. We've seen old, young, white, black lawyers. I myself am an engineer, also a Marine, former combat vet. And Mayor, it was brilliant, I thought, when you had everybody here, accurate representation of Sacramento, stand up in 100% support of the park. In a democracy, which is what America used to be, this is a no-brainer. 100% of the people want to use the park, you let them use the park. Done deal. So, unfortunately, the reason that we're all here is because we feel we no longer do live in a democracy, and that there's going to be a problem with you letting us use the park. We really, most of us honestly don't think you're going to let us use it. And so, what that's going to show is that we're justified in being here, that we don't live in a democracy anymore. In a democracy, the elected officials, which are you, represent and enact the will of the people. That's the definition of a democracy. If that doesn't happen, then that means your loyalties are not to the people, and it means that we do not live in a democracy. So I challenge you right now, in front of everybody, to put your hands up in the show of support for this as a vote, if you're going to use it, if you let us use the park or not, or don't put your hands up and show that you're not, in front of everybody right now. That's my challenge. Thank you.
So wait, let me answer your question.
Go
So
ahead.
what we're doing tonight is hearing from the public, and then we will deliberate, talk amongst ourselves, and then maybe perhaps give direction to staff. But this is what this is helpful for us to hear from you members from the public.
Okay, well, I don't find that acceptable. I think that the people need to see right now, based on 100% of the representatives of Sacramento, from what you've heard tonight, what is your vote right now?
So let me explain. I get it's not acceptable for you, which I'm not disputing that. But
Okay,
there's
then it doesn't even have to be.
Hold on one
I'm
second.
sorry,
Hold
sir.
on one sec. Hold on one sec. I'm saying that it's not on our agenda as an action item to vote, but this is what tonight was for, is to hear from the public, so then we can start talking about it in front. Hold on one second. In front of the public, which is what you wanted to say. So let us hear the rest of the speakers, and then let us have our dialogue in front of everyone here today.
Okay, then as an unofficial vote. This is, I mean,
Ron, we need the next speaker. We appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Are we a government of judges by the judges? Are we a government of police by the police? Are we a government of the people by the people? Now, let me get this straight. I understand Cindy Sheehan was arrested in a park. Is the park private property, or is it public? Is it a public park? She violated the law and was arrested just for being in a public park with no consideration of amnesty?
That redistricting thing was a joke. It was hypocrisy, and democracy did not go well. There are a lot of people throughout all of your districts that when you voted for that, a lot of people are very, very upset, and people are very displeased. They're not trusting of the people that are sitting in these seats right now. So this is a time for redemption. It's a time for reflection. And Chief Brazil, if you're worried about people and public safety, go check those bathrooms out. I feel more safe in that park now with these decent people out there. We had to call 311 yesterday to get lights in the bathroom. Young people have been raped, pedophiles are lurking around in your city, and you know this, and you have police officers standing there, and these bathrooms are dark, and people have to go in there in the dark. So let's think about this stuff, and let's re-examine this stuff and give it some serious thought. Power to the people. Thank you, please.
Thanks, Tim.
Would you listen to the passion in this room? Would you listen to the level of intelligence that the people have put behind some of their comments tonight? How can we afford to waste this talent? These are our future that we're looking at out here. One day, I can't help but believe that the people that will be sitting in your chairs will be coming from this room somewhere. And a lot of us are going to be sitting in wheelchairs in some rest home. I see a lot of gray hair on this council. I got a little bit here myself. Now, keeping that in mind, what maybe we want to do instead of arrest these people is talk to them. Now, I realize that a lot of things they're asking for are way outside the scope of what you're able to do here. These are problems that are international and national level things. But maybe we could sit down and draft a resolution to send to Washington and let President Obama need to know what we want him to do. He can't read our minds. And maybe with the help of the elder statesmen in this room, we could draft a resolution that makes sense to him and actually gives him some constructive criticism instead of just standing there and yelling at him and calling him names, because that doesn't do any good. Let's come up with a formula that will work here. Let's put your wisdom together with their passion and energy.
See if we can come up with a solution to this mess that this country is in right now.
Thanks, John.
And also, I would like everybody that supports the 99% to please hold up those papers. Now, I want you to look at all these people's faces and truly think to yourself, why would you completely deny these people's rights? It's not fair at all. It's not. And I mean, I admit that I had been hopeless at a point. I thought, wow, corporations and government is bigger than myself. But being around these people for about 2 weeks and meeting about like at least 20 of them, I've completely changed my mind. I've seen hopeless people turn into leaders, like leading chants out on street corners. And if you were to tell these people that you can't get rid of the camp ordinance, it's basically telling them that fighting for democracy isn't worth it. And it's not. It shouldn't even be a problem where we have to be here and ask you to lift this. So please consider. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Louis.
And this is why I'm here, in support of Occupy Sacramento. Last week, Councilmember Khan and Councilmember Ashby, you both said that the entire City Council is part of the 99% and that you are with us. And no one on the Council objected. I encourage you to see Occupy Sacramento as a movement of your constituents, helping you to do your job, to pass policies that provide for local jobs and public services, not policies for the 1%, for the top 1%. An amazing thing happened in June. For the first time in 40 years, since the Vietnam War, U.S. mayors across the country passed an anti-war resolution.
On Sunday alone, there were at least 1,200 to 1,400 of us who marched from Cesar Chavez Park over to the Capitol. The people who were marching included families with little children, people of all ages, old, young. I'm 70. You know, so, I mean, this is a cross-section of the community. So I'm asking you to grant the waiver that we seek. If trouble arises later, you can always revisit this issue. But give us a chance to show you direct, uncorrupted democracy. We want to work with the government, not starve it to the point that it cannot serve the community's needs. Stand with us. Please don't put this council on the wrong side of history. Please don't put this council on the wrong side of the people. Please don't give people a reason to be disillusioned with government. Please don't disappoint us. Don't let us down. Thank you very much.